Okay, in this video we are going to be covering basic building construction. I'm just going to do a quick sample for you guys so you get the idea. Buildings are not hard to make, they just are a little time consuming. Now what we're going to attempt to do here is really quick. We're just going to build the front face of this building just to give you an idea of how that all works. Okay, now I will tell you right off the bat that one thing you're going to have to get good at when it comes to building buildings from other games like COD4 or anything else at all, or just building a building in general, you're going to have to become pretty good at estimation. Now right here I would estimate that's probably a 2 or a 3, and I think 3 is a little too big, so we'll just put the 2 in there. As you can see, the 2 is just a little too small, and obviously the 3 is too big. So what we need to do is we'll just bring in a 1. Okay, now it's really simple just to make the wall like that. Now you just raise it up like that, and if you raise the whole thing, you pretty much got your height there for the most part. Now I would take a guess and say that right there, all this here is probably the same size, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy that down and we'll take a look and see what we get. Now it's pretty close, but whenever you go to build a wall on this side, might cover and fill in just that little extra there. Anyway, continuing on here, door frames are definitely one of the toughest, door frames and windows are one of the toughest things to accomplish upon building a house or, any type of building for that matter. And the reason for this being is that you cannot always, these fence pieces and stuff like that are just too tall to have that accomplished correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this piece, and what I'm doing now is turning on the snap angles. I can snap that directly 90 degrees, raise it up to where you need it, and then you just draw it back into the building a little bit, just to give it a little bit of a hiding appeal, I guess, and then you're pretty much good to go. Now, when you start doing your other side, the easiest way to make sure these are lined up is just turn back on your auto snap. And like I said, it's one more reason it's good to have your editor open like that. And as soon as you do, see it snaps into place. You turn that off, and then you just drag it right on over. Now, this one is a little bit too big, so we'll just grab these, drag them on over again. Now see, we're just a little bit too small, so what we'll do, make these a little bit bigger, but see, we don't have that auto snap on, so we copy them and we drag them out just enough. And you see we are getting a little bit of that overlay problem there. So all I'll do is just give them a little tug back into the building, and you can hardly notice it. Now in this next one, we should be able to use a 3 on this if I'm not mistaken. Turn back on the auto snap, rotate it, there we go, right into position. Turn back off your auto snap, bring it on over just a little bit short there, so in a minute we'll drag a 1 over that auto snap there. Now see, this one's hanging in just a little bit, so if you want to make it perfect you can. It doesn't really matter either way you do it, but now after you've already snapped your bottom one, you can just drag your top one straight up. You ain't gotta have any worries as long as you line it up correctly. And if you feel totally self-conscious, you can just drag it on over and make sure it's perfect. But afterwards, you can just finish dragging these pieces over and turn off that auto snap there. See, it does stick out a little bit more than I want, so we'll just drag it back in just a little bit, just to give it a nicer appeal. And almost done. Now for the bottoms, because they're a little bit taller, it's recommended that you just take one of your wider pieces if you can and put them in there. I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to drag it back in a little bit more. There we go. Kind of gives it like a window ledge appeal right there. It doesn't look too bad. Then you can just copy that straight on over. And just about like that, we're pretty much done our building face. Now, if you do copy a building for this, the simplest way to get it off is just to go into your mode here, this first mode of your object selection, freeze that building, and then you can select every piece and you drag it straight off, and there you go, you've got yourself a pretty much identical wall. Okay, now in the second half of the video here, we are going to make a pool table. Very simple object to make. There's a lot of different objects you can make in this game. You really got to use your imagination and work with what you got. But what we're going to do here, we'll start with one of these, and also when I make a lot of objects, I will take a spawn point and use it for a good reference, because that's your in-game height right there. So you'll be able to see exactly what you're dealing with. And we'll put it right about there. And then we'll copy this down. This is just a regular old cabinet. Nothing fancy. Now you see again here, I'm using my snap angles. I can snap that directly sideways. That just gives you a good guaranteed point. That way you don't have to deal with, trying to line things up properly. And we're going to shrink that down just a little bit. Bring it out. I'm going to bring it out right till it gets to the end so you don't have any overlapping. And then you can just copy these two. Again, 90-degree rotate them, and just line it right back up where you need it. Oh, well, a little problem there. Now see, I lined that up a little wrong, so what we're going to do, we'll just drag them over, and we'll put this one right about there. That looks better. And you can just get in there nice and close. Another thing you can do down here in this little walk guy here, you can adjust your WASD speed of how fast you move your cursor or whatnot, your camera through the terrain, and just drag those back in, and we're almost good to go there. There, now as soon as we copy the other side, we'll pretty much be good to go. Just copy it. Come on. Flip it, and this is kind of a small pool table, obviously. I mean, we're not going to take the time to make an appropriately sized one. I'm going to make it to scale. But then for this one, there's a number of different objects you can use for the felt trim or the felt lining or whatever. But for this one, we're just going to use the green here because it's the simplest. There are some reds and some different patterns you can use if you possess the skill to place them. But this is definitely the easiest. And give it a little bit more realism, we're going to place it down in there and just give it a little bit of a lip. And all you do is just keep on copying those over until you get them across. I'm going to try and line them up evenly if you can, just because. And then you copy them all down. And for the most part, you got yourself a pool table there. And one last thing I want to show you is if you use these Zulu shields, which are pretty creative things. You can use them. You can use these points for a number of different things. They make good cabinet handles or anything like that. You can rotate this down in here, and then you do this a couple of times, and you got yourself a couple of pool balls, just like that. Pretty simple stuff. Not too hard to learn. Not too hard to accomplish or do, for that matter. Just about anybody can do it if you got the patience. But you just hide them in there, and you can get yourself a nice little pool game going. That about wraps it up for this video. If you guys have any more questions or any possible objects you'd like to see created, just write me a message, and I'll try and get back to you. Thanks for watching.